There are currently 137 survivor perks in Dead by Daylight. Some of these perks can be insanely strong in certain situations, like having Deliverance at the end of a game or having Decisive Strike when you're being tunneled, but if you're not in those situations, those perks are completely useless. I have over 10,000 hours of playtime in DBD, and by far, the perk that gets me the most value consistently is Bond. In this video, I'm going to take you through a list of 8 reasons why Bond is, in my opinion, the best survivor perk in DBD. Reason number 1, and probably my favorite reason of them all, is using Bond while I am in chase. Most of the time, this applies to my first chase in the beginning of the game, but it could really just be any chase. It is actually so much value to be able to see where your teammates are while you're being chased by the killer, so I can determine where not to run. Because if I run to a gen that my teammates are on, then they're going to get pushed off the gen, the killer's probably going to go chase someone else, and they just get so much more pressure. So in this clip, I was able to see my one teammate going up the stairs into main building so I could take chase away from main building, and right before I vaulted the front window, I saw my other teammates on a gen in the middle of the street, so that made me determined to take chase to the side of the house away from everybody. This is something I really wish a lot more people would pay attention to, as it really does have a huge impact on the game. Reason number 2, and this one's pretty obvious, being able to find your teammates for heals. If you're like me, you're always running flashlights instead of medkits and no perks to heal myself. The only way for me to get healed is to find my teammates, and that can be incredibly challenging if you don't have Bond, especially on indoor maps. A common theme in this video is that there's other perks that do this, like maybe empathy or aftercare, but Bond just does everything at once, and that is why I feel like it deserves the spot as the best survivor perk in the game. For reason number 3, I'm just gonna call it general map knowledge. This reason may overlap with some of the others, but I feel like it's enough to be on its own. And what I mean by general map knowledge is that you could be in a chase and see your teammates starting a gen in a specific corner of the map, and then by the time you go down, their gen is pretty close to being finished, but now you're on the hook and the killer's chasing the person that was on the gen, and you will know where to go as soon as you get off the hook because of Bond in the beginning of that chase. I feel like this general map knowledge reason goes hand in hand with the new HUD as well. If you pay attention to what people are doing, there are so many situations where Bond will come in clutch to be able to figure out where you need to be on the map. Another big example of this is knowing when you have to go for an unhook. Let's say your teammate's on the hook, you're working on a gen, another teammate's in chase. Chances are, unless you're on a really big map, you're going to be able to have a general idea of where your teammates are, if you're the closest one to the hook, or if maybe your teammate's closer, and that'll just give you the information to tell you who should go for that unhook or not, so you don't have to get off your gen, run halfway to the hook to see that your teammate then unhooks, and then you have to go back and you wasted all that time that you could have been working on generators. It's just a huge time saver in these situations. Reason number 4 is going to go to knowing which pallets have been dropped. There will be so many times where I'm just sitting on a generator and I'll be watching the person who's in chase through Bond. If they drop a pallet, I'll be able to see that animation on the aura, and I'll know that that pallet won't be there later. Obviously, this isn't as consistent as Windows of Opportunity because Bond only has a 32-meter range, but this just adds to the long list of the values of Bond. Plus, I can make a whole video on why you shouldn't crutch on Windows of Opportunity unless you're a new player learning maps, but that's a conversation for another day. I have to give reason number 5 to endgame unhook situations. If you're playing solo, it can be incredibly difficult to get unhooks at the end of the game, but if everyone had the information of where their teammates are, they'd be able to move in for the unhook together as a unit and make the unhook much easier. I see so many survivors who are just terrified to even get close to the hook during the end of the game, and I'll be honest, Bond probably won't help them a whole lot. They kind of just need to get over their fear and realize that DBD isn't a true horror game, but just maybe, if they could see their teammates, it would reassure them and maybe they'd jump in to help with the unhook or maybe just take a hit or something. Reason number 6 is another one of my favorites, and it goes to following my teammates for flashlight saves. If you know me in the slightest, you know that I am always running a flashlight or flashbangs and just following my teammates, trying to go for some cool saves, and Bond makes this so much easier. There will be so many times where I'm searching for my teammate who's injured, and I don't know exactly where he is, and Bond just makes it so I don't have to check every single corner of the map. I just kind of have to run within a 30-meter range of like the edge of the wall, and if I don't see him, then I know he's not there. It just makes being able to find people so much easier, and then obviously just watching their aura from around a wall, watching the killer, I'll be able to tell when they're going to go down, where I'm going to need to be positioned to get the flashlight save, all that sort of stuff. People make arguments for maybe empathy, but I think Bond is just so much more consistent. Empathy does have the longer range, but there's so many killers that have insta-downs where People might go down when they're not even injured, and then empathy is useless. Bond is just so much more consistent in my opinion. Reason number 7, and something I feel like a lot of people just overlook, is just knowing which way to angle your camera while you're on a gen. A lot of times you'll hear a terror radius and see that one of your teammates is in a chase, but you don't know exactly where they are, so you're just kind of left panicking, looking left and right, trying to see which way the killer might come from. But Bond just gives you a definite, and it'll tell you the killer is that way, look that way, and it's just so much more simple. This also comes in handy on 2-story maps when your teammate might be getting chased directly above you and the terror radius is really loud. A lot of people will get scared and run away. Bond will tell you they're right above you and you're just perfectly safe to keep working on your gen and you don't need to waste any time. I also had a game recently where I was affected by Plaything, completely oblivious, and I could have been panicking, looking left and right, not really knowing where the killer's going to come from, but I saw on the HUD that my teammate was in chase and I saw them on Bond and I knew the killer could only be coming from one certain direction, so I was safe to keep working on my gen. The 8th and final reason that I have for this video is that Bond is a teachable perk to Dwight, who is one of the survivors that just comes completely free with the game, so every single person who owns Dead by Daylight will have the perk Bond. You won't need to buy any survivors or any DLCs and unlock the perk, you're just automatically gonna have it, and that's a huge benefit that I honestly completely forgot about. There are plenty of other values that you can get out of Bond, but these are the 8 main ones that I found help me out in almost every single game that I play. And obviously this is my own opinion, people are gonna disagree with it, that's perfectly fine, but I do genuinely believe that Bond is the strongest survivor perk in the game at the moment. Also, I feel like I have to say that Bond will get you the most value in solo queue or duo queue maybe. Obviously if you're in a Swift playing with a bunch of friends, you can just communicate to figure out where people are gonna be. But even in 4-man Swifts, I love running Bond just for the value of seeing who's gonna go for flashlight saves, just so I don't double saves with all my teammates. I personally just never take the perk off, but it is going to be much more valuable in solo queue. And also, this video wouldn't be complete if I didn't throw in the biggest downside of Bond, and that is watching your teammates do absolutely nothing. I completely understand people that hate to run this perk because they cannot stand watching their teammates just crouch in the corner of the map for the entire game. I completely understand it. It is so frustrating to see, but if you can deal with seeing your teammates be useless in most games, it's going to get you so much value in other ways. Let me know which points in this video you agree with and disagree with, and if you think there is a better overall survivor perk in the game, tell me what it is and what your reasoning is in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching till the end of the video.